Now, for all you non-believers in the Tupac situation, right? Let me explain something to all you smart dummies in the goddamn comments becoming, oh, choke, Tupac wasn't leaving Death Row. He had Machiavelli Records. He was doing Machiavelli Records. Well, finally, Pork Butt, as we know, they be watching. I see you, pig. Right? Him and his white boyfriend, John, right? So they addressed it, uh, what I've been talking about today. Y'all could go check that out if you feel the need to, right? What happened today, what they addressed was me talking about Tupac leaving Death Row, right? So, one, for all y'all talking about Tupac wasn't leaving, he had Machiavelli Records. I told you, idiots, that I mean, Death Row East, he wasn't leaving, he had Death Row East. Death Row East was not Tupac's. And if you want to go and look up in the paperwork, you will see Death Row East was Suge's, right? That he was doing with Eric B and Big D, right? From Queens. It was not goddamn Tupac's. Tupac was sitting there promoting it as a thing so he could say that he didn't have no beef with the whole East Coast. You know what I'm saying? That's why Death Row was doing Death Row East, not Tupac. Tupac record label was Euthanasia and Machiavelli Records. And Euthanasia was his, go look it up. Go see if who name is on that. Tupac's. Tupac name ain't on Death Row East. That was Suge Knight's. Smart asses that think y'all know everything. And the other thing about him doing that press release or doing that interview when they in New York City at the MTV Awards and they got the signs for the Death Row East thing, that is before Snoop went on the radio and said he didn't have no beef with Puff and Big. That's before Pac went and met Suge at the hotel and told Suge that he was done with Death Row and that Suge could have the Machiavelli album. The All Eyes on Me was a double. Machiavelli, when he done with Machiavelli, that will be three. He only owed Death Row 3 albums, and he was done. So for all y'all that keep talking about, oh, he had Death Row East, he was sitting there. Why would he be talking about he leaving Death Row when he was sitting there talking about Death Row East? Death Row East was not his, for one. And two, that is before the whole incident with Snoop. Smarties, y'all don't be knowing what y'all talking about. Now, what they addressed, or what Pork Butt addressed today, is because uh, the white boy John was like, well, Reggie, they saying, and they is me, that why did we bring uh Virginia Slim? And they don't want to call her Virginia Slim. They keep calling her Queenie, right? But that's Virginia Slim because they don't want you to go and look at the goddamn interview where she said Tupac was leaving Death Row. So they keep calling her Queenie so you don't know who they talking about if you don't know, right? So you won't go and look at the interview. So they keep referring to her as Queenie, which is her name, but Virginia Slim is her stage name, and that's what they titled it as. If you want to go and look and see her say that Tupac was leaving Death Row, and he told her personally, and she said she overheard him telling Eric B he was leaving. But they went and dug up some old Eric interview and played that to try to contradict what she said, right? So now he's like, well, you know, Wedgie, you know, Choke is saying that why would we bring on Queen Virginia Slim and she say that Tupac was leaving, and then why would we play Eric B to contradict her, and why did we play those back to back, right? So when they know that they stories don't match, right? So instead of Reggie just answering the question, he does the Gene squeal. Well, John, in regards to that 4 scores and 7 years ago, you know, George Washington had wooden teeth. He was the first with wooden dentures and deflecting, just going off, like not answering the questions directly, like Gene Dale do. These niggas just be lying. You ask them a simple question. Well, I was cooking neck bones the other day and I forgot the gravy and I had to run down to the store. You forgot the gravy? Yeah, like these dudes are the most deflecting. They could never answer a straight question, right? But however, I'm very patient and I'm sitting there waiting to see what he say, right? So Pork Butt, he deflected by talking about when he asked him the question, oh man, well, since we did that interview, we got other people that used to work in the office, Kevin Lewis and them, and you know, they all what you call it, Queenie gonna start her new YouTube channel and her own YouTube channel and tell her story. Man, answer the question. Why did Virginia Slim and Eric B both have different stories? And why would y'all play her saying that Tupac was leaving and play his interview saying that he wasn't, right? The stories didn't match, right? So here go Pork Butt. Well, only people that, it seems like only people that Pac told that he was leaving was females. You know, he told you had Virginia Slim, he told her, he told Keisha Cole, you know, he told his auntie Gloria and Janelle, his niece. Well, you know, I don't know why he only told them that, because the Outlaws were saying something. Oh, okay. He told Virginia Slim, he told Keisha Cole, he told his Aunt Gloria. Let's not forget Tracy. Since you just want to make it look like he only telling women that, um, right? Uh, Tracy is Aunt Gloria, right? Janella, his niece, right? It don't matter if they women or not. And then he goes, and then and Frank said it too, but man, Frank wasn't around. He was off since July, but Frank know it because Michael Moore told him. Michael Moore was in the room when Pac and in the limo with Pac when he heard Snoop on the radio say that he didn't have beef with Big and Puff. He was with Pac when he went to the hotel and told Suge, yo, Snoop talking about he ain't got beef with them niggas. I'm done with Death Row. I'm leaving after I cut Machiavelli. You can have that. That's your 3 albums. I'm done. Right? So that's where Frank got it from. And Frank interviewed Michael Moore. And I showed y'all that interview. And I could pull it up again, which I don't need to. Y'all could go back and watch that so I could get the Ramir. Right? So now for a fact, Porky, that Pac was leaving Death Row. And you even said yourself, Deathrow East was not Tupac's. So y'all need to stop saying that. Tupac had Machiavelli Records, and we know Euthanasia was his other was his production company. And we know for a fact that he was leaving. And thank you for finally telling the truth, right? And then Reggie says that he's defeated and he has no choice now but to believe it, right? Man, I'm defeated when it comes into that. Thank you, Porky. So for all y'all out there, if Pork Butt is telling y'all he has no argument anymore about Tupac leaving Death Row, what are y'all in the comments fighting about it for? If this dude is telling y'all he's defeated in it, he heard it from enough people to know now that Tupac was leaving Death Row. Y'all can get out the comments saying otherwise. Okay? I appreciate that. Y'all can stay out my comments. When you got the dirty Compton pig telling you he is defeated and he has no choice but to believe it now, I don't want to hear nothing from y'all. And he talk about, well, as far as me being fired, I know what I said, and this, that, and the other, this, that, but I didn't see the paperwork. You saw the paperwork. Yasmin Fool ain't got no reason to lie, and she posted the paperwork. Okay? She showed the paperwork. You know you was fired. And then you talking about, well, he was fired by David. He fired David Kenner because Suge told him to fire David Kenner. He suggested that. So, who cares? Right? Why he probably told him to fire David Kenner as his lawyer? Maybe because Pac was ordering the label. Maybe that's the reason why. But it don't even matter because we know he fired David Kenner just like he fired you, Peg. Right? He talking about, no, he needed to get his own lawyer because David was his criminal attorney. He didn't need him to be his entertainment attorney. Yeah, all right, whatever. And we also know that Suge caught y'all stealing or caught people stealing what was it, like 20, 30 million? Now, we all know that he fired Pork Butt. We all seen the paper. If you haven't seen the paper, I mean the if you haven't seen the facts, the paperwork is out there. But I'm not here to drill it in your head. If you want to still believe he wasn't leaving, that's on you, right? But if you ever seen the video where Pork Butt saying, "Man, if he fired me to F that nigga, I ain't have to protect that nigga." Whoa, 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 whoa. Right? But that again was, of course, him deflecting more again, talking about uh him being fired. He did a bunch of deflecting in that video. And he still never answered why Virginia Slim and Eric B stories didn't match, right? But he says, I'm defeated. I'm defeated. Yeah, you defeated. You all know, we all know Pac was leaving Death Row, right? And then he tried to put it on the white boy John saying, Well, John, you put those videos up. So you was contradicting what she said by putting that Eric B video up, right? So for all you again who doubted Pac was leaving death row, if the dirty pig is telling you that everybody was saying it and he's defeated in it, he has no more argument about it. Stay out my comments talking about he was doing Death Row East. Death Row East was not his. And if you think it is, you pull up the paperwork where he incorporated Death Row East or he is stated on there as an owner and send it to me. And I'll give you a public apology. And then Pogba said, well, that's up to y'all to determine what's true or not. Oh, no, no, no. You the one that was saying that it was a lie. He wasn't leaving. Now it's up to the people to determine what's true or not. Like you just said you defeated. Now, now it's up to the people to determine. No, nobody needs to determine anything. It's either fact or fiction. And it is a fact that he was leaving. It is a fact that he told Suge he was done because the witnesses are there and everybody around, whether you want to say it's only just women, whatever. Right? You know what? Oh man, what is dude name? Oh, I got it right here. Hold on. Let me add on to this real quick. I got something for y'all too, right? Um, so I'm never gotta sit here and try to convince y'all that Pac was leaving no more. Cause once you got the dirty pig telling you, yeah, it's true. He's defeated in that argument. There's no more argument on that, right? And then he goes, but does it really matter? Does it really matter? Yes, it matters. It matters a whole lot because that would explain why he allegedly got murdered, right? That would explain motive, allegedly, right? And you said something very telling in that video as well, right? So another deflection he had was like, um, does it really matter? Does it really matter? You know what I'm saying? Yes, it matters because that would be the motive to kill him, right? And then he gonna say another deflection. Well, I mean, it didn't happen. Like he didn't get a chance to leave. Yeah, because he got killed. He talking about that's like when Kobe Bryant was gonna go sign with the Clippers, but in the last 30 minutes, you know, he signed back to the Lakers. Man, if you don't get on with your Gene Square deflections, bringing up what Kobe got to do with this? What him getting ready to sign to the Clippers got to do with this? Only reason Pac didn't leave was because he was murdered. And then this is where you see motive. Because this dummy says, if it was true, you don't know what Suge was going to pull out his bag. If it was true. This nigga is so stupid. He said, if it was true, you don't know what Suge was going to pull out his bag. If it's true, right? Really? So if Suge knew that Pac was leaving, why would he be pulling anything out of his bag other than walking papers or his graces and saying goodbye? Good, thanks for doing the 3 albums with us. You know what I'm saying? I hope that you beat your appeal. It was great. I'm happy that we was able to bail you out and get you out. You did your 3 albums. Good looking, Pop. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and do your own thing. You gonna sit there and say, if it was true, you don't know what type of tricks that Suge would pull out of his bag? If it was true, you don't know what Suge was gonna pull out of his bag. What? Well, give us a couple of ideas, Reggie. We want a couple of ideas. What would Suge pull out of his bag if he knew Pac was leaving? Because he did know. Pac told him. What do you mean by that? I would love to know what you mean by that. And you know what? I need to go and grab that before y'all take that down. And I will definitely be grabbing that when I'm going to grab that statement before you pull that down. You don't know what Suge was going to pull out his bag if that's true. Well, we know it was true, right? And allegedly, did he pull out death out his bag? Or did he allegedly pull out you orchestrating the hit and make sure these niggas ain't got their guns? Why would you say that, Reggie? You don't know what Suge was gonna pull out his back. You know what he gonna say? Oh man, he was gonna offer him some more money to stay. Right. You don't know what Suge was going to pull out his bag. Yo, that is a quote. That ain't no alleged. Reggie said that. If it was true, you don't know what Suge was gonna pull out his bag. Really? Okay. Well, somebody pulled death out the bag. Somebody. I ain't saying it was Suge. And why would he be pulling anything out of his bag other than uh thank you for fulfilling your contract and go ahead your way? What do y'all think he meant by that? If Suge knew that, it ain't no telling where he would have pulled out his bag. Really? What there's nothing for him to pull out his bag. If the man told him he was leaving, why would he be pulling anything out of his bag if he fulfilled his agreement with him? Yeah. Somebody grab that in case they take it down before I get to it. What type of statement is that? Thank you, Reggie. We needed that one. It don't matter what we think, it's over, right? That's what you said? It don't matter what we think, it's over. Tupac is dead. That's what you said, right? It doesn't matter what we think. It's over anyway. Oh, no, it ain't over, nigga. It ain't over. February 26th is when it just starts. Okay, Porky? We'll see you in court when you got to testify and hit that stand, or when you get indicted and they come and pick you up. That was a dumb ass statement. Didn't they tell you to shut the hell up already? You did say that they told you to shut up, right? And you still talking. That is a very telling statement. It ain't no telling what Suge would have pulled out his bag if Pac was leaving. Well, we know he was leaving, and you just agreed that you defeated, and there's enough proof that he was leaving. Suge will pull out his bag. Okay, brother. You talking about, oh, it's all opinion based now. It ain't opinion based. It's a fact. It is a fact. It ain't no opinion based. It is a fact, brother. And you just made another dumb ass statement. It ain't no telling what Suge would have pulled out his bag if he knew he was leaving. Really? Oh, this nigga's a magician now. Okay, Porky. We thought he wasn't leaving. You was running around for years talking about he wasn't leaving. He wasn't leaving. And now you defeated in that argument. Okay. But thank you for clearing up Deathrow East was not Tupac's. That and thank you, brother. I'll shake your hand on that one. I'll shake your paw on that one, pig. Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for letting everybody know Machiavelli was Pac's label, not Deathrow East. Thank you very much. Now I can move on and get to this Ramir thing. Thank you very much. And shout out to Virginia Slim. You see they over there calling you Queenie. They don't want to say Virginia Slim so people could go ahead and go and watch your interview. I knew that little curly tail was going to get in place after a while.